Isaac Kotek, and we're going to be looking at making some sweet stab sounds with Ableton Live's Wavetable. This particular type of stab sound I wanted to go for is like a classic deep house, really dark and deep stab sound with kind of delays to it. Well, let's not talk about it and check it out in Ableton Live. So here's the stab. Let's hear it in context of some other sounds. Nice. I just love that really like dark dubby sound. I could see this in some techno, some deep house, that sort of thing. We're going to make this step by step in Ableton Live. You can also check out in the links below a collection of Wavetable downloads. I made a whole bunch from my Essential House. It's kind of a demo pack for the much larger one. Check that out below in the description. And yeah, let's make this thing. All right, so here we go. We got the Wavetable, and you'll see right after that, we've got a reverb and a delay. I'm going to just turn those off to start. We'll look at that later. And we are going to delete that and go into our instruments and throw in a Wavetable. So we're just going to build it from scratch. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is oscillator 1. We're going to crank this up over into our triangle wave right around here. Actually, I'm going to go just a little bit under that. That'll be our first oscillator. Oscillator 2, I'm going to turn that on, put it over into vintage. Vintage, we're going to go with Cis 8 comb. This has a really nice comb sound to it. I'm going to put this around halfway. Great. And lastly, I'm going to put on the sub oscillator. I'm going to keep that at -6 tone. I'm going to crank all the way up. And next up, we're going to look at the filter as well as the envelopes. Those are going to be really important. So on the filter, I'm actually going to keep the amp as is. A lot of this kind of, right now we have a sustained sound. We're going to actually use the filter to get that more plucky kind of stab sound out of it. So let's do that. Let's drag this back. I'm actually going to change this to OSR. This is different circuitry to give you, I don't know, some unique character. We're going to bring that up. And notice we don't really hear it, right? Well, that's where our envelope's going to go in. So I'm actually going to open that up a little bit wider so we can see it all laid out. Now with envelope 2, I'm going to make this more of like a pluck. So we have our attack, decay, sustain, release, right? We want our attack to be super quick, so it just goes straight up and down. And right now it's not doing anything, but if I click here and in my matrix, right here, I can basically say this is affected by that by mapping this thing in between. So on here, I'm going to put this up to 100. So what it does is it basically says this is fully open, and then it goes down to that setting afterwards. So this opens it up and comes back down. So I'm holding it. We're not hearing much. But if I extend that, see how it does a lot slower? We want it about there because I'm going with this kind of like minimal deep house sound. Next up, I actually forgot a little step that I want to do in oscillator 1, and that is setting this to modern. I'm going to use an FX here. So basically, we can move this and warp it. Hopefully you can hear that. It gives it a subtle different change. And I'm going to go with warp 7.8, but then I'm going to, on my oscillator 1, also map that to envelope 2. And I'm going to go right around there. So see how that moves now? It just makes it less flat. I think those small little details is what makes a preset really cool as compared to kind of obvious sounding. And then next up, I'm going to use my Lfo Random Trick. You might have seen this if you've seen my other videos on this channel, but basically in the Lfo 2, if I change my rate to super slow and go with a random, we get this line, which basically, since it's random, represents a single change every time I hit the note. It's going to change the parameter, but it's going to stay that way until I hit another note, just because of how slow it is. So with that, if I come in here and hit this wave position, set that to LFO 2, let's turn that up. See how it's jumping around a little bit? And let's also do that to the position of Wavetable 1. So let's turn this up, but only a little bit, not too much. Hopefully you can hear how there's like these variations that are happening each time. To me, that's what makes this a much more living synth, a more organic, awesome sounding synth, instead of something that just sounds kind of flat. Then next up, the last few things we got to do is turn on our unison. Let's go with phase sync. I'm going to go with 3 and just crank that amount. It's just basically taking these oscillators and multiplying them so we have different versions of them at different levels, and in this case, different phases to give it that bigger sound. And then I'm going to turn on reverb. This reverb here is, I think, just the, this is the normal setting, but I tweaked it just a little bit. Let's turn off spin. I don't like using spin all the time. Low cut is really important because we're getting rid of all the low end out of the reverb, which I don't really want. Chorus and everything is on, just very slightly here. And then it's not all the way cranked up. I have it around 30%, just to give it a little taste, a little of that reverb taste. And then lastly, we got the analog triple dub. So you can always just look that up in your audio effects, look up analog. And there we go, under vintage delay, analog triple dub. Drag that in. Now, the only thing I changed was this noise was way too loud for me. So I'm going to turn that down. And then on here, I actually changed this to 1/8. And let's turn that dry wet down just a bit. Great. I think it's a little loud, so I'm going to turn that output, and we're good. So let's hear that in context of the track again. Nice. I actually have another video on this Trance stab. If you want to check that out, check out the rest of the channel. I've got a whole bunch on deep house, house presets, things like that, as well as a bunch on future bass. There you go. That is building that preset in Ableton Live's Wavetable. I love this sound. It's really great in my production. You heard that track that I've been working on. It's kind of like a deeper house style. I'm stoked on a few tracks that I have coming out the work like this. And yeah, thanks for watching and following along. You made it this far. Good job. High five. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to this channel. There'll be a lot more videos like this on different house presets, some classic bass line stuff, things like that. I'm also going to make some on effects and risers using Wavetable. So subscribe to the channel. And until next time, have fun. If you use this in your sounds, please comment below if you've got different presets that you would really like me to check out or try to emulate a certain artist. I'd love to hear about it. Comment below in this video, and yeah, have fun making the tunes.